I can't look at my husband after what I did to our daughter. My husband, 30, and I, 29, have been excited for the longest time, anticipating the birth of our daughter. It was a difficult pregnancy, and we both had absolutely no clue what the F we were doing. Yet we were the happiest we've ever been. We were about to be parents. We went to the hospital on the 30th to endure labor since she was a few days past her due date, and we were just growing anxious. Turns out my blood pressure spiked severely in Jesus. When I say that labor pain is honestly the most excruciating thing in the world, even as someone with a high pain tolerance, I mean it. I'm sorry for that, me. But I had a lot of bleeding, and I was honestly exhausted. By the time I even started pushing, my husband was right there with me, looking so terrified, and I was basically passing out because I felt like I just couldn't do it. Doctor the attempted at doing an assisted extraction using a medical suction tool, and that, too, failed. So last resort was rushing me to surgery for a C-section. I was put under and woke up to being wheeled back to a room. I kept asking where she was, and my husband just told me she was being taken care of and I needed to rest. Apparently, it took longer than normal for me to even wake up. When I was coherent enough, I found out there had been some complications. I was like, but she's okay, right? And my husband said, yeah, she's perfect. She just needed extra care. Because of how traumatic the birth was on both of us. My heart rate got dangerously low at 1.2, and my husband was dealing with all of this alone. She stopped breathing and also ingested some fecal matter, and it took 15 minutes of chest compressions to get her back again. My husband decided to wait to tell me this after. Had still been put on high alert due to my blood pressure, and he didn't want me to risk spiking it again, as that was a major concern. Doctor told me she is doing well. She's alive. But they can't tell what kind of damage lack of oxygen might have to her brain. Is she going to be okay? Or how it might affect her in the future, because it's too early to tell the severity of it all right now. I just stared at my daughter, hooked up to all those tubes in an incubator. I walked to the bathroom and sat on the floor crying for an hour. I feel like I failed her. My one job was to get her into the world safely, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it right, and she might suffer because of it. My husband thinks I'm mad at him for not telling me the truth earlier, but I know he had a similar meltdown. From what my family told me, while the doctors were trying to help me as well. I told him I understand, but I don't think he believes me. I just can't talk to him properly. I told him I failed at this, and he just keeps being amazing and positive, and I feel like I don't deserve any of it. Granted, it hasn't been a week yet. My daughter is still in a neonatal ICU unit doing well, but I feel like a horrible waste of the term mother and wife RN. I don't really know what advice I'm looking for. How do I help my husband, my daughter,